Yeah. Well, nice to have you here again, Linda. My co-counselor now for pretty much 5 years, I think, and we're coming on. And we practice something called reevaluation co-counseling. Sometimes I've called it liberation peer counseling. And the process here, why I'm recording it, is I want to work through the very notion of liberation, particularly in call it liberation psychology and what that might mean today, how I relate to that, and I'm asking for your attention. It's what we call unconditional attention and your ability to think with me, even if I'm not getting your input every moment. And still think with me, and you're with me. I've invited you in to be with me, and thank you for saying that you'd be willing to do this. So I have taken some notes on it. So I'm just gonna do just a blah blah, and then we'll see if it tightens down. And if I ask you for permission, or if I ask you, or you can ask for permission to interrupt. And I can also ask you to, give feedback at some point if need be. It might be at the end, and it might not be, but otherwise, I'm going to be a monologue here for the most part. I'm taking a course called Liberation Psychology. And it starts September 17th. It's an international global course put on by Science and the Non-Duality group, which has become a very popular and big group on doing work in liberation and all kinds of other good work on the planet by filmmakers and their educators. And they've acquired the proper faculty, and they have built a course that is 9 months long, actually. I'm just going to do the first 3 month module, see how it goes online, but it's a real learning community. So it's going to attract people that are coming around the idea of liberation psychology. So reevaluation co-counseling, which we practice here, Linda, you and I, and my own version, which was liberation peer counseling, which I practiced for decades and taught as well, still practice with you and certainly with my wife and a few others, but mostly with you and my wife. Um, it is a liberation psychology itself. This peer counseling, this RC, it is actually a liberation psychology. And why I want to record it and talk with you is because when I talk with you, I feel I have a safe space to actually talk about liberation. And so when I go on, in contrast to an online community, all strangers, I have no friends or allies that are signing up with me. I'm free game. I feel like I'm free game, a free duck to be shot at for things I will say, and I probably will say. The easier choice would be to passive, to listen, to be a good white person listening to people of color and all those political correct stances and nodding and smiling and do whatever I do, but just be passive, basically. And within the liberation movements that have come in the last while, um, that is sort of the correct um, rules. What's the word for it? When you proper manners, there's another word for proper manners. Etiquette.
Etiquette.
There's a cultural, psychological etiquette of behavior. And I'm going, if we're going to practice learning about liberation psychology in this course, which we're all there to learn, and I assume some of us are going to be there more to teach. Some of us are going to say, I already know everything I need to know, so you listen to me. I mean, I don't want to come from any of those positions per se, but I do not want to be passive. I refuse to be passive. I feel there is an importance of humbleness as someone with white privilege and the ability, I'm heard and spoken a lot. I don't get attacked for my color per se until I go into another community that is not dominated by white privilege and it's a more open, pluralistic, liberation oriented, marginal, sensitive, trauma sensitive learning environment. So I don't feel safe in those environments because I've had a lot of bad experiences. That's just the bottom line for decades. I'm amazed that I signed up again when I saw this, and there's reasons I did that when I won't go into. It was kind of synchronistic again, and went, "Ah, I cannot not take this. This is like exactly what I'm looking for. Um, you know, from days ahead, and then it shows up on my internet, this course, and I go, oh. And Michael, you don't want to go into this again, really. Come on. You've been so injured in those communities and they're so unsatisfying. They are so unsatisfying. Do you hear me? Just feeling great disappointment. I'm disappointed in humanity. I'm disappointed in these courses that we're trying to liberate ourselves within. And I'm disappointed with myself that I have not been a more effective, successful teacher with a big following where I can put on my own courses of 300 people signing up and calling me and asking. I don't get that. I get zero, zero. I have to initiate everything to get 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. This is just my intro. I have a bunch of distinctions I want to pass by you today in the thinking and helping my thinking. Some distinctions, which I always find really useful as I parse confusion and injury and distress, confusion with distress. And those two go together. And I feel I have some good partitions that came to me in the last few days. My wife and I spent 2.5 days in a retreat for ourselves. We call it a relationship retreat, and a lot of good processing. And then I woke up this morning and I'm just boom, 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 all these clarities. Because I also feel oppressed by some of her patterns. And I feel like, oh, these are very similar to what I feel I'm going to face when I go into the course. So this is not just about courses, it's about real lived experience with my daughters, with my wife, with people in my little circle or whatever. With you, I don't have those problems, which is interesting because you're a co-counselor with me. Certain rules and boundaries of this practice. So that's why I feel safe in this environment to be this part of myself speaking and feeling. I know I can think better with that presence of a loving other that's not competing with me. And that's what I realized. I said, every fucking relationship I have, almost, very rare, there's a competition going on. Well, I might be instigating that. I might be competitive. Yes, I can be competitive, but it's not what I want or intend. I actually want to do this. I want to rub off of each other, but I don't want to put anyone down. And I get accused by a lot of people. Oh, you're superior. You have to be special. Which always means if you're going to be special, you're going to be above. And of course, in the DEI discourse of equity, that's a no-no because that's inequitable. You have superiority or specialness because you have privilege. I'm going, but that's not my intention. It is never my intention. I have been so oppressed by other groups, and I do not want to be doing and perpetrating that oppression on others. Now, can I do that? If I have a shadow, which I can do that, yes, I can. But what I was arguing with my wife the other day, I was saying, but I have worked fucking hard for 5 decades almost, practicing RC, teaching it, learning. And that's only one practice in theory I use for liberation. I am not somebody who just goes off on a tangent about my emotional feeling victimized. I'm interested in us, all of us, recovering and going beyond recovery. What I have this little model of going from victim to survivor to thriver, flourishing to beyond 2 stages, even beyond flourishing. I have a model, and it's not just mine. I've synthesized it from many people of the human development that can move past victim, survivor, thriver to really sacred warrior and royal leader, lover, etc. There's different names for those stages. So see, now I'm teaching, you see, and I want to come into that course and I want to be not passive. I want to learn from the teachers, but I'm going to teach. It's impossible for me not to teach. And most people are teaching when they speak out anyway. I mean, there's very few who aren't teaching a little bit or a lot. So it's okay to teach. I'm just saying, it's okay for me. That is, if we're not going to censor people constantly on what they say, and if we're going to be about liberation psychology, are we allowing, oh no, but any group can still censor another person. We can even call it hate speech, and then you can take them to court. I mean, it is a mess. It's a mess of what freedom is. It's a mess of what liberation is. And I want that to be seen in this group. I want to help craft that in this group community, however I can, with various approaches. And again, often the thing I get to criticize, it's happened in the last course I took, again, a very spiritual course by Daniel Foor and the community there. Um, he's a great leader for them, and he's very powerful and potent and charismatic. But I put out just a couple critiques of some of the things he was saying, and it's like his community just like online just came after me. Like you wouldn't believe the defense of their leader, and basically, and then one person starts says, "Well, I'm kind of on your side. You should be able to say what you want to say, but if you would have only used nicer language in your text, on the comment board." And I go, "Yeah, I could use nicer. I could." You see, but then I feel I'm being controlled so much by if you don't present it well, it won't be received well. And I go, what are we here for? Are we here to be nice to each other? Well, then you go, well, but the person running the course wants it to be a safe space, and they have rules when you sign up for this course, right? How to create safety. It's a mess. Like, how do you negotiate all that with people who aren't in the same room? You don't get the verbal cueing. You don't get the connectedness. If we were connected, I could say something pretty offensive even. But if we're a bit connected, people just can kind of roll with it. And it's not because I'm saying it because I want to be mean. It's just I want to say it because I want to say it. And a lot of the things that I do, Linda, you probably know, is that I want to say things that are going to stir people up. I'm not just a provocateur. Let me tell you, it's no fun getting the shit that comes back at you being a so-called provocateur. I'd rather not. I'd rather not be in competition. But I definitely am not going to not stir stuff up. Like, I don't want to be on the boat. Like, I'm off. Get me out of the car. Like, get me off the bus. And I said to Barbara this morning, I was just a little piece of sharing some. I said, if justice and the equity card becomes such a powerful tool to control and dominate a community of inquiry, liberation psychology cards, if that justice card slash equals equity card, it could be a race card. If that becomes more important than truth in the seeking of truth, I'm out. I'm off the bus. I'm gonna go for my refund. I'll say, okay, wish you guys the best. I mean, I really do, because people they're there for a reason. They want to do something good. They have intention. So I'm not gonna put that down. But I'm big saying I'm off the bus. And I've done that to these courses because I could see what's happening. I said, I'm off. I'm off the bus. I don't want to participate in this. And at times they're cultic. There's a cultic leader type who doesn't want to be a cult leader. No way do they want to be, but the group will make them. Mm-hmm. It'll behave still as if, even though the leader's trying to push it off. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. That can happen to any leader, can happen to any, it's not unique, right? People start worshiping and defending their pride. Joy, the person who saved their life and gave them the knowledge, the theory, the counseling, the love, whatever. So that I would just have this little piece around justice. And then I was writing after the justice one, I said, every time I've seen a peace movement, belong to a peace movement, environmental eco movement, which is mostly the kind of activism I grew up with and my will is achieved now. I have found that is basically what happens is something called peace or eco-justice becomes the trump card for everything. It goes over truth and it runs rotten over beauty and it runs rotten over science sometimes. Or sometimes the science will be used to back up the eco arguments. And then for peace, righteous, justice, we stand for peace and you don't. We stand for women, you don't. Because you're not standing the right way, speaking the right language, and you haven't read the right authors, and on, you know. You're not citing them. I got slammed in my dissertation. You didn't look at the canon of feminist literature, and yet you said you were using a feminist, cyborg feminist lens in your dissertation. I said, yeah, I am. And no, I don't want to go looking at all the feminist literature and citing it. I have a lot of other things I care about. Well, that person was ready to fail me. She just about nixed my dissertation.
Mm. Mm.
And I go, it's just way too controlling, way too much control of free speech, fearless speech, as Michael Foucault said. So I had a joke this morning. I said, if I was to write a book, it would be a play off this book, which you may have seen, Linda.
About 100 years of psychotherapy. Yep.
And the world's still getting worse. So my joke was, if I was to write a book now, it'd be, we've had 200 years of liberation work and the world's still getting worse.
Mm. Mm.
And that kind of is my thing. I'm coming into this course of liberation psychology saying, we're not doing that well. And the world's not doing that well. And there's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to blame it just on therapy or just on liberation work. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm basically saying, I don't think we're doing it that well. And so then it raises the question I wrote, what if I come in and say, well, I really have an intention, you know? And I can put this out and say, I have an intention I'm really pretty clear of. I may find other intentions, maybe it'll shift. But right now, my intention is that I want us to do liberation well. Leave it at that. And then a little bit of nuancing. I want you to trust my intention.
Mm. Mm.
Everyone in the course. I'm willing to trust your intention. Are you willing to trust my intention? And that might be a process to get to that if people even pay attention to that. Because a lot of people could easily say in their distress and understandable in anger and resentment, yeah, you fucking white people, you always want us to trust you. Well, fuck you. We're not trusting you first. We've trusted you. You know where that led us. That almost wiped out our people.
Mm-hmm.
And you lied.
Mm.
Yeah. And so immediately I realized that. I get it. I get the picture of that. And here will be the challenge of a good, I want us to do liberation psychology well, right? And to me, to do that well, let's try and start on a basis where I trust your intention in this course. It's framed, it's just a course. We're not even with each other. We're not really impacting each other in real world terms. So it's pretty safe. Are you willing to just trust my intention? And therefore listen appropriately to that. React to it, respond to it. You don't have to agree or disagree with it. I didn't ask you to agree with me. I said, can you trust my intention? Which is, I want to do liberation well for all of us. And then the second one is sort of a three-part process, and then I'll let you comment and invite. So let me just nuance. Trust my intention, and I added of care and concern.
Mm.
So it's not just, I want us to do liberation well. That's kind of a content. But it's actually, I want you to trust my intention of care and concern for this problem. And then I want you to have all the freedom to mistrust that I may not operate on my intention.
Say that again, please.
I invite you to also mistrust the processing of that ideal, my intentional ideal, in operations. Right? The ideal is not necessarily the operation. So I could mess up. I could have a shadow. I could slip. I could be practicing white supremacy without knowing it. And, all these sorts of things. So I invite that mistrust of the processing of my ideal intention. But if I can't get you to agree on trusting the intention of concern and care, it's just like a boat waiting to sink, and it's going to sink. And that's where we're going to fail on liberation together. Because you're going to pick up on, but you said that and you're doing this. And so the moment you do that, your intention is out. You've fucked once. You're, this is the extreme. See, that goes with very
Yep.
wounded people.
Yep.
I'm one of those very wounded people. Then the third part, trust my intention. I invite you to mistrust the processing of my intention in action and what we exchange. And then I ask for a third part, but I ask you to unconditionally trust the process of the work we're doing on liberation. So it kind of goes back to reinforce the first intention. In other words, if we can't trust the process, we came into this course and there's a process set up, right? There's going to be a teacher, there's going to be these readings and listening, and then you're going to comment. If you can't trust that process, in RC terms, I trust the healing process no matter what.
Mm, mm.
Get it? Okay.
Yep.
Not just about coping. All right, over to you. I think I have a few minutes.
Oh, I've made tons of little notes of things you've said.
Thank you.
Um, and I'll give some back to you, but to me, what you're talking about, because I think this, I don't think you're alone in your thinking around this. I think you are at the root of what in the country I live in is our big, Democrat, Republican, right, left, all the things. Um, in that we need to trust each other. The goodness and that what's behind the intention, your intention is good for all, is care and concern. But to actually to get to that level, one has to be able to go deep and say one's thoughts and fears and all the things and that's doing liberation well. You kept using, you want to do liberation well. And what I think it happens many times, especially in these kind of courses you're getting into, or the Democratic Party, is we liberation gets held up, and it's like there's a certain way to do it, and that's what you're fighting against. We're never going to get to the deep core guts of it all if we stay at this kind of correct level. You're wanting to get to the guts. You're wanting to get to the meat. You're wanting to get to the messy and trust one another that we have care and concern. But let's speak truth. Truth, you said justice is not more important than truth. Yeah. Echo, stop. Justice is not more important than truth. And I think that is where you want to go. You want to get to the truth. And in the truth, getting to the guts of it and the meat of it, you don't want to waste your time if you're not able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. There will be people hurt, and I'll be hurt, and I'll walk away hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put myself through self-abuse or
No.
abuse from others.
But I think that your 3 points that you
Yeah.
had at the end, that makes a lot of sense. And perhaps starting, I mean, this is just an idea I'm
Yeah.
throwing out. Starting there about what was number 3? Um,
Trust
I
the
trust
process.
the healing process.
Yeah. Trust the healing
Can
process.
we have an unconditional trust of the process and that we all want,
Yeah.
we all have concern for one another, care and concern.
Yeah. So I can kind of write my own personal manifesto in a way. This is something I'm thinking about doing, which I haven't done in any of these other situations that don't work out so well. Is maybe I just need to declare my manifesto. It's kind of getting back to your counseling session. I want what I want,
Mhm.
and start there to make sure we all have that. I want what I want. See, not just what all the pressures of what other people are going to want.
I may
Yeah,
say some things that are upsetting.
yeah, for
Let's
sure.
go there
It's
and
inevitable.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole thing is process work. If someone asks me, how'd you come up with those three? And I says, well, because I'm basically a process thinker. I'm a
Hmm.
dialectic process thinker. A dialectical means polarities exist within the movement of thought and consciousness, and they can go way out there, but they always tend to swing back toward a central core. Then they might go all the way out there and they will come back. So the lemniscate, that infinity symbol, to me is the aesthetic form for process work so that
Mm.
we don't get hung up on trying to cut that infinity loop and break the loop of connection and care and concern
It's
for
so much
anybody.
deeper. It's so much deeper than doing things right.
Yeah, thank you. I like that. That's a good ending on it. To It's more important than doing things right, which is just again, see justice, the problem of the justice card. It's so is vulnerable to right justice.
I'm right. No, I'm right.
And we
I'm
have
right.
the
No, I'm
law. And if it isn't God's law or Sharia law, if it isn't this kind of law or the law of the land or whatever, right? You get into eco people do this too, and the laws of nature. That's the bottom line. I agree in part, in part, in part, in part. But I'll just stop there.